Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you my top 2 wheat berry choices, how that I came up with those 2, and why I would even want a top 2. And so it may be helpful for you. There's so many wheat berries, and I wanted to make this video so that I could give you the perspective of someone who's been doing this for a long time and I've been able to settle on these 2. And so let's just jump right into the video. I've used almost every wheat berry, well, I haven't used Durham, so I have not used that one, but I've used almost every wheat berry that there is. I've used, of course, the hard red, hard white, Kamut, Einkorn, Spelt, Emmer, rye, soft white. Trying to make sure I don't look Kamut if I didn't say that one. Turkey red, which is a heritage strain. I've used a lot, and I have went back and forth with favorite ones, and you've probably noticed that on the channel. I'll say, well, right now I'm really into this, or right now I'm really into that, and that's great because through each one of those I was able to learn the pros and cons of each one of those wheat berries. But more importantly, recently, I decided to start making recipes from each one of these and pay attention to what it did to me, how I felt, how it did with my tummy, with my energy, filling me up, you know, all kinds of things. And what I have come to is there are 2 wheat berries that my body, you know, my system loves more than any. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to use any other wheat berries, obviously, but these are going to be like the main flour in all of my baking, all of our like muffins and bread and different things like that. They're going to be kind of my main ones. Not saying that I won't use others, but I'm going to rely heavily on these 2 for most of what we eat. So if I do make a bread recipe and I'm using one of these, I'm going to use 75% of it. And then if I want to add 25% of something else, I can, or just use 100% of it. So when I kind of set out to pick just 2, not because I only want to have 2 on hand, again, I want to make that clear, but the 2 that make me feel the best when I eat them, is I wanted one hard variety and one soft variety. And that, you know, that kind of was what I was going on. So I would make my muffins with certain ones and I would eat them for the week, and I would kind of take mental notes, how am I doing with this, and just, you know, jotting down what I think. And then I would make our bread or yeasted or sourdough things with another one, and then I would get an idea. And what I have come to is something to use for hard variety and something to use for a soft variety. So you may not be surprised, I wasn't, to know that the 2 wheat berries that I picked that agree with my system the most are ancient grains. And so I knew they would be, because I've always known that my body really appreciates ancient grains over the modern varieties. So for my hard wheat, I fell on Spelt. Spelt, the flavor is where I want it. If you've never had Spelt, it is very delicious. It's very high in fiber. And of course, just like any fresh milk flour, very high in vitamins and minerals. It has some oils in it. I think vitamin E is in there. I know it's a vitamin, but I mean like the oil. And then it's got some enzymes. All of the fresh milk flours do, but at varying degrees and varying amounts. And I find that Spelt has got a really good amount of fiber. Fiber seems to be that thing that I have to have a lot of. And I read an article just the other day. It's like 90-something% of Americans are way in a deficit when it comes to fiber. And that can lead to so many chronic problems. And so it's really important that you eat enough of these fiber foods so that you can get what you need to keep everything running. Fiber is a prebiotic, so if you take probiotics but you don't get enough prebiotics, it may not help you. And so it's important that you get enough of each. So Spelt. Spelt is nutty. It is, it most resembles, when you're baking, it most resembles hard red wheat. You do get a good gluten structure with it, not like you would with hard white wheat or hard red wheat, but it is so good enough, so good enough, that doesn't make sense. It's good enough that you can make all of your breads with it. I make a sourdough Spelt artisan loaf that rises beautifully. I make a Spelt sandwich loaf that is absolutely beautiful and delicious. And so you can still make all of your bread with Spelt and get a pretty good gluten development so that you can get a good rise. The one thing I do find with Spelt, if you're making yeasted breads with it, is you want to add an egg or some sunflower lecithin or lemon juice or something to help with it not being crumbly, like dry, because it's really moist and wonderful the first day or two, but it dries out a little quicker. I find if I add 1 or 2 eggs to the mix, it's fine. And so keep that in mind with Spelt if you get into using it. I think Spelt is the #1 ancient grain that I tell any beginner to try. Before you get into Einkorn, get into Spelt, because it is so similar in the way that it behaves that you don't get like thrown into this whole new world. Like, this is nothing like what I'm used to. It is very familiar, but it has way less like chromosomes because it is not hybridized. It is like a pure strain of wheat. And so that is, I think, why that it's much easier on people's digestion. Of course, my theory and my belief is our bodies were made to digest certain wheats. And then when man decided to hybridize them and change them so he could get more and all those things, our bodies weren't really made for that. And sometimes they have a hard time digesting it. And so that's why that I really rely heavily on these ancient grains in my kitchen, because of my existing stomach problems. I just find that my body loves ancient wheat. Okay, now for the soft, of course, another ancient wheat. But I have to tell you, if you buy soft white wheat, you really should consider just replacing that with Einkorn, because Einkorn, it behaves almost exactly the same, except it is so much healthier, being that it is like the purest strain, wheat berry or grain, that you can bake with. And the flavor is incredible. And for making things like muffins, biscuits, cakes, pie crust, anything you would use your soft white wheat for, you should just go ahead and use Einkorn, because it is low gluten and it is higher moisture, so it behaves almost exactly the same. I even find that I have to add that extra 1/4 cup per cup of flour like I do with soft white wheat, and it behaves exactly the same. So for a while now, I've been using Einkorn as my soft wheat, and I use it in all of those recipes, whether it be my weekly muffins are always 100% Einkorn flour. Maybe every once in a while I say I'm going to change it up and I'm going to make it with Spelt, or I'm going to make it with kamut or emmer or something like that. But I'm telling you, it's so delicious and so soft. It meals into this incredibly soft flour. And so I highly recommend that if you buy soft white wheat, think about getting into Einkorn, because it is almost exactly the same. And plus you get some ramped up health benefits that you don't get from modern soft white wheat. So, but those are my 2 main wheat berries that I'm using right now. And that's after a long time of just trying to listen to my body and what works with me the best. And these 2, I get 0 symptoms, even if I overeat, which I do a lot when it comes to my fresh milled flour bread. Even if I eat too many slices or too many muffins or whatever, I don't have any issues with it at all. And so Spelt and Einkorn are just they're stars in my kitchen. And I think that if you don't want to put in all this time and effort trying to figure out how to use einkorn for bread, because it's so different from any of the others, completely different. Use it as your soft wheat, and then pick the spelt to use as your hard wheat, because it behaves so much more like what you're used to. So I hope that this little short video was kind of helpful for you in what you should do to try to pick out. If you say that you have very limited space and you only want to keep one or two, those are kind of the steps I would do to pick which one that you're going to make for your family. If your family responds amazing to hard red wheat, I would just buy hard red wheat. But if you have someone that has like kind of like little chronic issues with their stomach or something, think about trying Spelt or Einkorn and just see. Give it a week or two and see how they react to it. And you may be surprised that it behooves you to move over to those ancient grains for those people. But now if nobody in your family has any problems like that, then it's less expensive and easier to just keep a hard red wheat or hard white wheat on hand and a soft white wheat. But these are for those of you who maybe are eating it, who struggle like I do with some stomach issues. And I think that these two are stars. I think that they are the best for those of you who have the same type of problems that I have. So anyways, that's all I had for you today. Just kind of throwing this video in there because I wanted to give you all kind of an update of where I am with my wheat berries in my kitchen. All right, well, I'll see you all soon. I hope you all have a great day. And yeah, head over to my blog, therosehomestead.com. And if you're looking for recipes to try out with these two wheat berries, just type in Spelt or type in Einkorn and all those recipes will come up. All right, well, we'll see you soon.